hopefully they will say, let's just keep it going for a while.
Yeah, I shall.
Yeah. What's your second question?
No! Mayonnaise is not an instrument. Horseradish is not an instrument either.
Too bad they didn't kill me.
However, beans are very musical. You can do a symphony with that stuff. Woo!
Warn me first, okay?
When you first started out as a voice actor for SpongeBob, were you ever uncomfortable?
Never.
Ever starting?
Never. I mean, well, I've been doing this for almost 50 years, so you're never really uncomfortable unless you get a kind of a jerk of a director that runs you through the mill, you know. But that wasn't the case with Stephen Hillenburg, our creator, who unfortunately has passed away. And it was all fun and remains fun to this day. We get in there, we don't have to go to work, we get to go to work. It's the old saying of doing what you like, you'll never work a day in your life, and it's absolutely true in this case. The plush toy speaks.
What was it like working with Tom Kenny on set?
Well, perhaps you should ask Tom what's like working with me. Tom is one of the, for those of you who don't know, we've gone through about, I don't know, maybe half a dozen different directors through the years, and now Tom Kenny, SpongeBob, is directing all of our projects. And you can tell by how talented he is in his performance of SpongeBob that he is very, very good at directing. He's absolutely wonderful, and the level of our comedy is much more refined. We take the extra moment to get that little beat, that little turn of a phrase, to make it the funniest that we possibly can. And the way we record, we develop this neat little way of doing things. We'll have like 2 pages at a time of a script, and we'll do it exactly as written so that the animators and the writers get what they want. Then we do a 3rd take, which we call our crazy take. And we as actors can improvise, we can do whatever we want to do. And a lot of times those improvisations end up being in the show. And we sometimes go a little off color just for our own amusement. Somewhere there's a take that no one really needs to hear. For instance, the episode Sailor Mouth, remember that one?
Yep.
They discover cussing. And in order to present the cussing, we dubbed in stuff like porpoise sounds and whatever when someone's really cussing. Well, in the last part of the show, Krabs stubs his toe, and he goes off on a tangent, really cussing, doing porpoises and whatever. In real life, Clancy Brown was cussing a blue streak. I learned words that day I never heard. Again, somewhere there's a tape. Whoa. Yes.
Besides SpongeBob, what's your other favorite role that you've done?
I worked on Invader Zim, which is, it became a cult. It only lasted about a year. And it has its own Comic-Con called InvaderCon. And it's just for Invader Zim. And we did a special recently that was on the air. I think it was on Netflix. And Professor Membrane, who of course was my character, Mama saw I'm making toast. And he developed a new signature line that's scientifically impossible. You know, so it was a lot of fun. They made him more of a superhero. So that was that. And long before that was Where on Earth is Carmen Sandiego? And the Chief, which is, if you listen to it, it's Squidward after about 7 Red Bulls. So, but I've done a lot of movie stuff with like what we call additional voices, looping, like all the Pixar films and all that stuff. So if you watch A Bug's Life, there's a moment when he walks into the saloon that I'm just like everywhere, all over the place. And I'm the mosquito that says,
Bloody Mary, oh positive.
okay.
What specific lines were improv, like completely off script improv?
You know, after having just told that story, I can't think of one that we did because we just cruise through it and go on. But a lot of times it's just us, you know, just using our group stuff, improvisation. Thank you all. So, yeah, I wish I had one for you. I wanted to think of that.
How did you come up with the voice that you
Like I was saying, when you look at the breakdown, There's a verbal breakdown. He's sarcastic, he's artistic, he's frustrated, he demeans everybody around him because he thinks he's above everybody there. And he has a big honking nose. So I just, these kind of thing, that kind of attitude to it. And fortunately, Stephen Hillenburg thought that was spot on with the character, and the rest is history.
So, sir, I got a question.
Good.
Squidward things aside, I want to ask you a personal question. I saw you yesterday at the concert enjoying a drink. What's your favorite beverage?
It wasn't me. I have a doppelganger that goes out and drinks beer. Personally, I'm a tequila man myself.
Would you mind please saying Schoolie and Fancy Son from band class?
Schoolie and Fancy Son from band class.
Imagine them in their underwear.
Oh no, he's high!
I should have stand up here and do Squidward's voice. Forget my own voice.
What's your favorite character besides Squidward in the SpongeBob show?
I would think Plankton was one, because I can do Plankton a little bit. I rented cottage. And we all do everybody else's characters at one time or another. When someone can't be at the record for the what we call the animatic, which is a preliminary sketch of the show, they want the dialogue being spoken by someone just to get that timing and spacing, and then they come in with a real actor and fill in the actual voice. So we all have scratched everybody else in the show, and I ruined my voice trying to do Patrick. For some reason, that kind of a thing just wrecked my voice like crazy. But everybody can do Squidward, I'll tell you that. In fact, in the episode Squidville, one of the early shows, I think it was in the first season, everybody had to do a version of Squidward in there. So we all did that. But Plankton is my kind of guy, because we both scream a lot. When we first started doing the show, and everything has an evolution. And Squidward was very monotonal. He was like, blah, 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 and that was the signature. That was my hook for Squidward, was that sort of thing. But then they started giving me different things to do. And as an actor, you have to spread your wings, and it became more my acting than it was just playing this one character. And then, in the episode where SpongeBob finds Mermaid Man's utility belt, and he zaps Squidward and shrinks him down, and then he tries various buttons to get him to go back up to the regular size, and each one transforms Squidward into a more horrific thing, no skin, on fire, whatever, And each time I had to do a scream. And I had to do a different scream each time. And that's when they learned that I could scream. I mean, I could, ah! Just all over the place. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt your ears there, baby, I'm sorry. But they make me scream every show now. So it's very cathartic, very therapeutic. I save a lot on psychiatry fees. Please, don't let me down. I need you to ask questions. I'm an empty vessel.
What exactly is the story of the Hash-Slinging Slasher?
The slash-slinging masher?
The guy slinging crashers? Yes.
The story is exactly what it looks like. They had the night shift. They had the night shift. This is one of the first times that the writers decided to employ complete non sequiturs. And that was the end. Nosferatu. Which, by the way, we brought back in Camp Coral recently also. He's one of the kids hanging like a spider.
Is there any cartoon that maybe you were not involved in that you enjoy?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. Not that I know of, because the things that I am involved with are so much fun and so fulfilling that I don't look somewhere else and say, gee, I wish I was a part of that. I oftentimes, because I've worked on so many shows in movies, that we were, like I say, additional voices, not featured voices. I always wanted to be one of the feature actors in many of the Pixar things. But as time has gone on, you will notice that cartoon characters are not the way Mel Blanc used to do them. They were all very, what we call, cartoony. Now it's more believable characters, and which is nowhere near as fun to do than really transforming yourself into this that kind of crazy character, you know. So, and that means that's good news for everybody. You don't have to have these tremendous skills of vocalization. You can just be yourself and maybe get cast. Replace with me.
First, I just want to say hi and thank you for making up my childhood as well. What was what was it like working with Stephen Hillenburg? Like, what was your work relations with him? What was that
Stephen was absolutely the most wonderful, gentle spirit you could ever imagine. Very unassuming. They didn't want the spotlight. You would never think by looking or even talking to him that his mind was so fertile to create this sort of thing. If you don't know, he was a marine biologist, which is where he got the idea for this whole thing of SpongeBob. And but we miss him greatly, and he's one of the gentle spirits. And also, if you ever see SpongeBob, Squidward riding a bicycle, it's a recumbent bicycle where you're leaning back a little bit. One day, I have a recumbent, and there's a picture of me with that at my table, you can see. And Stephen and his son were out in this park, and they saw this, and I let them ride it. This was in the very, very early moments of SpongeBob. And so he took my bike and made it into Squidward's bicycle. So there's a little inside joke there. Yeah, Stephen is very much missed.
What made you decide that Squidward was a character that you wanted to do?
And I wish that I was in a position to say that. Oh, I accept this script, or I won't read this script. No. I'm just a regular working schmuck. And when an audition comes my way, I read it and hope for the best. The only thing that I really kind of shy away from is when I see the audition script has profanity in it. I try to keep that, a little bit away, and as long as I can afford to do that, I will. When I first started working with the National Lampoon, that was not the case. We said lots of bad words.
Oh, there you go. Hello. I was wondering, since you did the real Ghostbusters cartoon, if Zool was coming to destroy the Earth and you had to pick a form other than the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, what would you pick as the form of Zool to destroy the Earth?
I'm not sure. But who does your taxes? Louis Tullerline, the only one I remember.
So it's a two-part question. One, do you ever break character when you're recording? And two, was there a particular episode that was hard to get through because the script was just, amazing?
Good two questions. No, we never break unless we mean to. Oftentimes though, because Squidward is very close to my natural voice, and they want me, we all have to do what we call incidentals, a little character that walks by and it's only in that one particular episode, and we throw out all kinds of different characters that we have. And a lot of times, initially, they would say, Raj, no, that sounds like Squidward. Because I was doing what I thought was something totally different. But it wasn't, it was like that. So we have to work to not sound like our normal characters. We have to really go far afield. And I got a couple of regular things in there. There's a Dr. Gill, he's kind of a weird kind of guy. Patrick, you've got those suds. And I've got this wealth of other things that you never would know. I got my lovely little Jewish guy. Hey, I'm just that guy over here, and it's just so much fun to do, And the second question was your hard show to do? Yes. The Lemonade Show, where they have a lemonade stand, and accidentally, Squidward exudes his ink, which is the first time ever that they allowed to do that, because they didn't know how to do it, and be discreet, because it looks like something else. And they had it come out through his nose. And the customers at the stand tasted it, and they loved it. So now they had to get more. Well, Squidward's out of ink. So what happens, they had to scare him repeatedly, and then make the ink come out, and they would go out and sell some more. Well, the sequence was, scare me, and then I had to make the sound of secreting or excreting ink. and do all that over and over and over again. So it was like, over and over. I was wrecked for a month. Sadly, it's not one of my favorite episodes.
Oh, what's your favorite meme that's come out of the entire show?
You know, I just have never gotten into the memes. I'm not even sure what they are. You know, someone said bumper sticker. Well, that kind of makes sense. Yeah, I don't have anyone. No, I have to get back to you on that. I'm sorry.
You mentioned that y'all do impressions of like the other characters. Are there any characters outside the show of SpongeBob that you like to do impressions of?
I'll do a little Shatner. And that's about it.
So I grew up on watching SpongeBob, but I also grew up on a couple of other kids shows. So I want to know what kids shows you grew up on and what kids shows you liked as a kid,
Looney
if you
Tunes.
remember.
Looney Tunes, absolutely. I remember, don't you? These kids are gonna smack you. You're about as old as my socks. Yeah, it was Looney Tunes for me. Mel Blanc with Bugs Bunny and all that. And then the later on in the 60s, it was Jay Ward cartoons, Rocky and Bullwinkle, and Hanna-Barbera with Huckleberry Hound and Yogi Bear and all that. Those were the influencing characters for me. But what really influenced me to get into comedy was live action. The pantheon of physical comedians when I was growing up in the 50s. Jerry Lewis and Dick Van Dyke, Danny Kaye, and all of the groups, Laurel and Hardy and Abbott and Costello and the Marx Brothers and the Three Stooges especially, the whole physical comedians. When I started out in my career, I was a physical comedian. I would fall down all the time, you know, and you know, do stage plays and fall downstairs and everything else. I can still do that, I just can't get back up. So that was kind of the live action and then comedy and cartoon version that shaped and warped who I turned out to be.
What advice would you give to somebody who wanted to get into voice acting?
Pursue it. It's the same advice. It's not necessarily just for voice work, but it's for really anything in life. And I say this seriously. If you have this urge, some people call it a dream or even a calling, pursue it. It's not like it will ruin your life if you don't, but I guarantee you for the rest of your life, you will have in the back of your head that question of what if. So a lot of people don't pursue their dreams because they're afraid. They're insecure, or they're just afraid of what they think is failure. People fail every day. So you pursue whatever that dream is to two conclusions. You're making a living at it, which is success, by the way. Or you get to the point where, you know, you say, I'm giving this my best. I'm going to go, you know, change paths right now and go to whatever other job I can do. Reason thus important. Failure is the only failure that there is not trying. You have to remember that. If you go out and go to New York, try to be an actor, and it doesn't work, you didn't fail. You gave it your best. What do you tell little kids that are into sports? And the guy strikes out 3 times. He comes back, he's in tears. And you say, did you give it your best? And he says, yes. That's all that's expected. And that's all you can expect of yourself. So please follow the dream. You won't regret it, I guarantee you.
Do you have a favorite like scene partner to do scenes with?
Well, my favorite scene partner is Tom Kenny. We have a particular chemistry that we do, and oftentimes people ask, well, what my favorite episodes are. One of my favorite episodes is Dying for Pie. You remember that? He gives him a pie, he thinks it's a bomb, he's gonna die at the end of the day, and so he wants to give Sponge his best day ever. And it was just him and me. And we have this rapport. Those of us that are old enough will remember a show called The Honeymooners with Jackie Gleason. If you're an old fart, raise your hand. Okay. And there was a relationship between Jackie Gleason's brash character and his friend Norton. And Norton was SpongeBob. You know, he would do some silly thing, and he would just keep on doing it over and over again until finally Jackie had had enough, and he would go, all right! And we do that little dynamic quite often. So Tom is my man.